10 rock songs that broke something open in you, and you're still not sure what.
Children get older now.
Not because they were the biggest, not because they were the loudest, because somewhere inside the music was a truth you weren't ready for, a backstory you didn't know, or a line so specific it felt like someone had gone through your things.
So close, no matter how far.
You've heard these songs, some of them your whole life. But here's what I don't think you know, what was actually happening when they were written, what was being carried, what was being buried. And I'll tell you right now, by the time we get to number 1, the story behind the song makes the song itself feel like the easy part. Stay with me. Number 10, Landslide, Fleetwood Mac, 1975.
Climbed a mountain and
Stevie Nicks was 26 years old, sitting in a house in Aspen, Colorado, staring at the Rocky Mountains. And she was pretty sure her life was over. Not dead, just finished. The music career she chased across bars and basements and near misses felt like it had run out of road. And the relationship with Lindsey Buckingham that was tangled up in all of it. The music, the ambition, the hope that felt precarious too. Like it could go either way. Like she was standing on a ledge and the wind was already moving.
reflection, snow-covered hills.
And here's where it gets to me. She wasn't writing the song to say something. She looked at those mountains. She sat at the piano and something just came out. Well, I've been afraid of change because I built my life around you. She later said she didn't even know exactly who or what she was addressing. Maybe Lindsey, maybe the music, maybe just the idea of the life she'd imagined.
Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love?
That's the thing about honest writing. Sometimes you don't know what the song means while you're writing it. You only know it's true or what happened next. Lindsey Buckingham got a call. A new lineup for Fleetwood Mac. He wouldn't go without Stevie. And just like that, the woman who thought it was over was walking into one of the most successful bands in the world. The self-titled Fleetwood Mac album dropped in 1975. Landslide was on it, quiet, almost inconspicuous, buried in the track listing. No one quite understood yet what they were holding.
Around you, but you know time may.
And if you've ever been standing at a fork in your life, not knowing which way to go, and not knowing if what you built still has a future, you know why this song finds you differently depending on when you hear it. At 25, it's beautiful. At 40, it's unbearable. Time makes you bolder. Even children get older. That line hits different every decade you've been alive.
Well, I've been afraid of changing.
And here's the thing that seals it. Stevie Nicks sings it live to this day. And she says she can't get through it without feeling something shift in her chest. The person who wrote it is still being undone by it. That's what a real song does. It doesn't stop working. Number 9 is about a man who wrote a song that turned into a warning he ignored and didn't get the chance to outrun it.
Well, I've been afraid of change.
Number 9, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, Green Day, 1997.
The time of your life.
You probably know this one as the graduation song, the wedding song, the season finale song, the song that played over the last episode of Seinfeld to 58 million people who had no idea what they were actually listening to. Because here's what Billy Joe Armstrong was actually feeling when he wrote it. Pure, cold-blooded fury. Armstrong is in Berkeley. He's fallen hard for a woman named Amanda. And Amanda, having apparently considered her options, packs up and moves to Ecuador. And not to be with him, just to go.
And unpredictable, but in the end is right.
And Armstrong is standing there with this fresh heartbreak. And what does he do? He picks up an acoustic guitar and he writes what is essentially the most passive-aggressive send-off in rock history. I hope you had the time of your life. He called it Good Riddance because that's what he meant. He tattooed her name on his arm. He had to cover it up. Now here's the part nobody talks about. He tried to put this song on Dookie in 1994. Rejected. Too different. Tried to put it on Insomniac in 1995. Rejected again. For 4 years, this bitter little acoustic song that Billy Joe wrote out of heartbreak just sat in a drawer. Not good enough for a punk band. Not punk enough for anything else.
So take the photograph.
Then comes Nimrod in 1997, and the band finally decides this is the moment. Producer Rob Cavallo adds a string arrangement recorded in 15 minutes while the band played foosball in the next room, and that song played at every prom, every graduation, every funeral, every retirement party from 1997 onward. It became the universal goodbye. Armstrong once said, "I was definitely not thinking about weddings and graduations when I wrote it." Drummer Trey Cool was more direct. "You never expected to write anybody's prom song. You never even got invited to your prom."
On trial for what it's worth.
Somehow, the bitterest song Armstrong ever wrote became everybody's most tender memory. And if you've heard it at a funeral, if someone played it at a moment of real loss, you know it carries that weight just as easily as it carries the joke. Because underneath the sarcasm, underneath the good riddance, there's a man standing in a driveway watching someone drive away. And the song knows it, even if he didn't want it to. Number 8 is about a father who wrote a song about every mistake he ever made and never got the chance to make it right.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, Cats in the Cradle. Harry Chapin, 1974.
And a silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon.
Sandra Chapin wrote the poem. She'll tell you that herself. She was on a long drive listening to country radio, and a song came on about an old couple looking out a window at a rusted swing set. All the children gone, the grandchildren gone, just silence where there used to be noise. And she wrote down the idea. A father, a son, time passing, the pattern repeating.
And son, you know we'll have a good time then.
She showed it to Harry. He said, "That's interesting," and put it down. Went back on the road. Missed another show, another dinner, another ordinary Tuesday. Then their son Josh was born, and Harry wasn't there. He was on tour. He missed it. He came home, picked up that poem again, and this time it wasn't interesting. It was a mirror. He set it to music almost immediately. And he would later introduce the song in concert by saying his wife wrote it because he wasn't home when their son was born.
Son, I'm proud of you. Can you sit for a while? He shook his head and
He laughed when he said it, but you could hear the other thing underneath. Cats in the Cradle hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in December 1974. Harry Chapin's only number 1 hit. The song about a father who runs out of time became the most famous thing he ever made.
And just the other day, he said, "Thanks for the ball, Dad. Come on, let's play."
Now here's the part that stays with you. Harry Chapin was 38 years old when he died. July 16th, 1981. His car was rear-ended by a tractor trailer on the Long Island Expressway. He was on his way to perform at a free benefit concert. He had 5 children, and they were 10, 7, and younger at the time. The song is about a man who keeps saying we'll get together then, and then is never around. His youngest children were still children when he was gone. They never got then.
Said that's okay, and they walked away, but his smile never dimmed and said.
And if you've ever watched a parent run out of time before the relationship caught up, or if you've been the one always promising to call back to visit, to have that conversation, Jim D, and you haven't yet, you know this song is not just a song, it's a reckoning. Harry Chapin couldn't outrun the lesson in his own story. Most of us won't either. Number 7 is about the most unlikely love letter in heavy metal history, and the man who almost kept it to himself.
A silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon.
Number 7, Nothing Else Matters, Metallica, 1991.
The heart forever trusting.
James Hetfield was on the phone with his girlfriend. He only had one free hand, so he picked up the guitar with the other and just started plucking the open strings, quietly, not performing anything, just something to do with his fingers while he missed her. And somewhere in that restlessness, he started murmuring a phrase into the phone. Nothing else matters. The music and the words arrived at the same time, in the same moment, from the same ache. He wrote it down, he recorded a demo, and then, and this is the part, he hit it. From the band, from everyone, he was the front man of Metallica. These were songs about war, rage, thrash, destruction. He later said, I thought that Metallica could only be the 4 of us. These are songs about destroying things, headbanging, bleeding for the crowd, as long as it wasn't about chicks and fast cars, even though that's what we liked. Writing a love song felt like a sign of weakness. Lars Ulrich heard him playing it backstage anyway, and didn't give him the choice. Kirk Hammett's reaction when he found out, all I could think of was, James wrote a love song to his girlfriend? That's just weird. And here's the quiet miracle. Hetfield played every guitar part on the recording himself. He didn't even let Hammett touch it. Kirk later admitted he had to relearn the intro part from scratch just to play it live. This man was so intimidated by the delicacy of what James had built. By the time the Black Album came out in August 1991, Metallica had become one of the biggest bands on the planet. 5 million copies sold in the United States in its first year. And sitting in the middle of that album, between the brutality of Enter Sandman and Sad But True, was this quiet, fragile, open string ballad from a man who almost buried it because he thought feeling things was something to be ashamed of.
Open mind for a different view.
You know how it feels when you're the kind of person who's not supposed to cry, and then a song finds the place in you that you'd locked off? That's what James Hetfield found when he wrote this, in a hotel room with one free hand, missing someone. Number 6 is about a villain who became an anthem for the lonely, written after a temptation at a concert in Denver.
Trust I seek and I find in you.
Number 6, Behind Blue Eyes, The Who, 1971.
Behind blue eyes.
June 9th, 1970, Denver, Colorado. Pete Townshend has just finished playing a Tommy Tour concert, and a woman approaches him after the show. He's married. He's also Pete Townshend in 1970, which means the universe is not exactly short-circuiting anyone's expectations here. But he goes back to his hotel room alone.
Hated.
He was a follower of the Indian spiritual
faded.
teacher Meher Baba, whose teachings essentially asked Townshend to resist exactly this kind of temptation. So he sat in that room on the edge of the bed and wrote the beginning of a prayer. When my fist clenches, crack it open before I use it and lose my cool. He wasn't writing a song. He was writing to stay grounded.
To telling only lies.
But here's where the story takes a turn nobody expects. That prayer became the seed of a song written for a villain. And Townshend was developing a sprawling rock opera called Lifehouse, a futuristic story about music as resistance against a dystopian government. The antagonist was a character named Jumbo, and Townshend wrote Behind Blue Eyes as Jumbo's theme song. a lament from a man who knows the world sees him as the bad guy, but who feels trapped, misunderstood, furious at a position he never asked for. Behind Blue Eyes is not a song about a good man. It's a song about a man who does bad things and still feels sorry for himself, and somehow that makes it land harder than any straightforward love song. When Roger Daltrey went in to record the vocals, his dog had been run over that same morning. He came into the studio in genuine grief, barely holding himself together, and those vocals, that voice cracking at the edges, measured and tender and one breath away from rage, are what you hear on the record. The tragedy was real. The performance absorbed it.
My love is vengeance.
And if you've ever felt like you were the one everyone misread, if you've ever carried something privately that had no name, that you couldn't explain to anyone without sounding like you were making excuses, Behind Blue Eyes is where that lives. No one knows what it's like to be the sad man behind blue eyes. Not a good man, not a bad man, just a man. And that's the song Strange Genius. It doesn't exonerate anyone. It just says, this is what it feels like from inside. Number 5, Black, Pearl Jam, 1991. Stone Gossard made a demo tape in 1990. 5 instrumental tracks. No words, no singer, no band yet, just music in search of someone to give it language. He sent copies around looking for a vocalist. One of those copies found its way to San Diego. Eddie Vedder was working at a gas station. He listened to the tape, went surfing, the way the story goes, came back and recorded vocals for 3 songs, then mailed the tape back to Seattle. The band heard it and immediately flew him up to audition. And on the way to Seattle, on that trip, Vedder wrote the words for the song he'd later call Black, a song about first love, about letting go, about the unbearable dignity of wishing someone a beautiful life with someone who isn't you. I know someday you'll have a beautiful life. Yeah, I know you'll be a star in somebody else's sky, but why can't it be mine? 10 was released in August 1991. It took almost a year to fully break, and as the album climbed in 1992, Epic Records started calling. Release Black as a single, this is the one, it's a hit, let us have it. Vedder said no. He said no in every way a person can say no. He said, fragile songs get crushed by the business. I don't want to be a part of it.
I'm surrounded by some kids that play.
And then, because he didn't trust the label, he personally called radio station managers around the country to make sure Epic hadn't gone behind him and released it anyway. Let that sit for a second. A front man calling radio stations himself, making sure no one commodified something he hadn't been willing to sell. And here's the irony that still gets me. Black hit number 3 on the mainstream rock chart anyway, without a single, without a music video, without any of the machinery it was built to resist. It got there because listeners found it on the album and refused to let it go. Vedder once said in concert that he wrote Black because he'd heard it said that you can't have true love unless it's love unrequited, because the truest version of the feeling is the one you can't have forever. And whether or not that's true, that sentiment lives in every note of that song. The love that stays exactly as beautiful precisely because it ends. Some of y'all know which relationship this song belongs to in your life. You know it immediately. Number 4 was born in a dark room late at night on a detuned piano in Liverpool, trying to reach a dead man's music. Number 4, The Scientist, Coldplay, 2002.
heads on a silence apart.
Coldplay had finished recording what would become A Rush of Blood to the Head. They listened back and hated it, genuinely thought it sounded like leftovers from their first album. The label agreed to push the release. Songs were scrapped. The band went back to work, exhausted, some of them threatening to quit during practice sessions that ended with no music and too much tension. Chris Martin was in Liverpool one night, late, alone in a dark room with the piano so old and out of tune, it shouldn't have been playable. He'd wanted to try working through George Harrison's Isn't It a Pity? That chord progression, that heartbeat cadence, but he couldn't find it, couldn't get there. And then something else came out instead. He stopped and said to whoever was in the room, "Can you turn on the recorder?"
Nobody said it was easy.
What followed, the vocal take, the piano, that first run through is what you hear on the finished record. He didn't re-record it. He didn't refine it. He said quietly, "That's just about girls. Whatever else is on your mind, the environment, the economy, the state of the world, the thing that always gets you most is when you fancy someone." The music video spent over a month in preparation. Martin had to learn how to sing the entire song backwards, phonetically, so that when the film was reversed, he'd appear to be singing it correctly. Took him weeks. The video runs the story in reverse. A car crash that becomes a beginning, debris becoming a journey, catastrophe becoming ordinary morning light. Going back to the start. And that's what the song is about underneath the piano and the apology. The specific devastating feeling of knowing exactly what you did wrong and knowing you can't undo it. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be this hard. I'm going back to the start. You can't go back to the start. That's what makes the song work. That's why it lands. Not because the relationship described is unique, but because the desire to rewind, to say the thing you didn't say, to be the person you weren't quite ready to be. That desire is as close to universal as anything in human experience. And Martin recorded it in one take on a broken piano, alone in the dark, reaching for something he couldn't quite get to. Number 3 is about an old man covering a young man's despair and making it his own farewell before anyone realized that's what it was. Number 3, Hurt, Johnny Cash, 2002.
But I remember everything.
Trent Reznor wrote Hurt in 1994. He wrote it in the house in Los Angeles where the Manson family murders had taken place. He'd rented it to record. He didn't know about its history when he moved in. When he found out, he kept the door handle as a reminder. He was in a bad place, struggling with his identity, his new fame, what it meant to feel anything. He wrote, "I hurt myself today to see if I still feel." He called it a Valentine to the sufferer. It closed the downward spiral. 9 Inch Nails, 1994 album. Then Rick Rubin played it for Johnny Cash. Cash didn't want to hear it. Rubin put it on a CD with 25 other songs, and Cash didn't respond. Rubin played it again. Still nothing. Finally, Rubin sat down with an acoustic guitar and played a rough version himself, a barely there imitation, to show Cash what the bones of it could carry. Cash listened, agreed to try. He changed one line. "I wear this crown of shit" became, "I wear this crown of thorns." More biblical, more Cash, more true to a man who had spent 70 years of life inside a faith he tested repeatedly and kept returning to. The video was shot in February 2003 at the House of Cash Museum in Tennessee. The building had been closed for years. Flood damage, decay, memorabilia from a career spanning 50 years, dusty and crumbling, a kingdom left to rot. Cash sat at a table, visibly frail, hands shaking, barely able to get through it. And June Carter. Cash stood at the edge of the frame, watching him, still there. 3 months after that video was filmed, June Carter Cash was gone. May 15th, 2003. Cash didn't stop working. In the months after her death, she had told him to keep making music, and he recorded over 60 songs. He kept the promise.
I will make you.
September 12th, 2003. 4 months after June, Johnny Cash was gone too. Trent Reznor watched the video when it was finished. He said, "Tears well in silence, goosebumps. I just lost my girlfriend because that song isn't mine anymore." That's not a metaphor. He genuinely grieved the song because Cash had inhabited it so completely. A dying man singing about the futility of an empire surrounded by the ruins of one, that the original meaning evaporated and something heavier moved in. Everyone I know goes away in the end. At 70 years old, with everything he'd built behind him, Dia and June Carter in the frame beside him, Cash wasn't performing that line. He was stating a fact. Number 2 is about the most famous rock song written about loss, and the loss behind it makes everything else on this list feel like a warm-up.
My sweetest friend.
Number 2, Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd, 1975.
So you think you can tell?
Syd Barrett co-founded Pink Floyd. He was the one who named it. He wrote the first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, almost entirely by himself, a psychedelic architecture of sound and image and lyrical strangeness that nobody had built before. He was the engine, the voice, the idea. And by 1968, he was gone. Not gone like he quit, gone like the person who had been there. The sharp, funny, visionary Syd simply ceased to exist. The LSD had been too much, too often for a mind that maybe had already been fragile in ways nobody had noticed until it was too late.
Can you tell a good feeling from a cold?
He became erratic on stage, unresponsive, dangerous in a quiet, drifting way. The band brought in a replacement guitarist, David Gilmour, and eventually stopped picking Syd up for shows. Not a conversation. Just, they started leaving without him. By 1975, Pink Floyd had survived Dark Side of the Moon, one of the best-selling albums in history. They were enormous. And they went back into the studio to make what would become Wish You Were Here, an album built almost entirely around grief for Syd Barrett. The title track, Shine on You, Crazy Diamond, all of it soaked in guilt and love and the specific sorrow of watching a brilliant mind disappear. Now here's the moment that lives in music history. June 5th, 1975. The band is in Abbey Road, working on the final mix of Shine on You, Crazy Diamond, the song they wrote about Syd, for Syd, as a tribute to a man they assumed would never hear it. And a stranger walks into the studio, overweight, shaved head, shaved eyebrows, a coat. Nobody in the band recognizes him. Nick Mason thought he was a crew member. Gilmour thought he was EMI staff. When Roger Waters finally realized who was standing in the room, the man he'd grown up with, his oldest friend, the person the album had been written about, he broke down in tears. It was Syd, 29 years old, unrecognizable, a completely different person living in a completely different world. Barrett stayed for a while. He listened to Shine On without showing any sign of recognizing it was about him. He picked up one of Gilmour's guitars and played something aimless and unconnected. He spoke, but didn't quite land in the conversation. And then, without saying goodbye, he left. That day was also David Gilmour's wedding day. Syd Barrett wandered into the reception at EMI, and then he was gone again. It was the last time any member of Pink Floyd ever saw him alive. He went back to his mother's house in Cambridge. He painted, he gardened. He avoided music entirely. Syd Barrett died of pancreatic cancer on July 7, 2006. David Gilmour has said, "I can't sing Wish You Were Here without thinking about Syd." He recorded it for a friend who had already disappeared. He's performed it for 30 years, knowing the person it was written for never understood it was for him. Some of y'all have written something, a letter, a song, a message, for someone who was already gone in every way that mattered. You know what it costs to keep saying the thing they can't hear? Number one involves a different kind of loss, smaller, more specific, and somehow more devastating than any of this. Number one,